It's springtime, but with the current global circumstances, it's hard to go out and actually appreciate this time of year. Not everyone's fortunate enough to have visitors in the garden. An increasing number of people are seeing the benefits of encouraging wildlife into their gardens, which has led to increased feeding stations. The more food available, the larger a population can be sustained. And when food is plenty, there's little need for confrontation. A variety of birds sharing feeding stations and overlapping territories. A common British favourite, blue tits. This time of year, they'll be pairing up to build nests, ready for eggs in April or May. Adults feeding on seeds, nuts and invertebrates, often bringing spiders and caterpillars back to the nest for their young. A relative of the blue tit, the great tit. Larger in size with slightly less vibrant coloration. These birds often share the same space. When food is scarce, they've even been known to team up in family groups of various tit species in the search of new feeding grounds. Although more birds means more competition for resources, it also means more eyes watching the skies and surrounding areas for predators. Red kites and sparrowhawks typically the main threat from above, while domesticated cats pose a common threat from below. House sparrows often frequent UK gardens, using bushes as cover. The small, nimble and speedy birds travel in colonies and are known for their ability to adapt. One of the most widespread birds across the world, inhabiting every continent apart from Antarctica. Forming social hierarchies, the male with the largest black crest on his chest is the male in charge. While we still attempt to understand what determines the size of the crest on the bird, their society and social construct certainly seems to understand. The males with the highest perceived rank obtain the safest and most bountiful feeding sites, while birds further down the pecking order have to resort to more dangerous or scarce areas in the pursuit of food. Not to be confused with the similar tree sparrow that has a chestnut brown head and nape, while house sparrows have a grey crown instead. Not all the birds visiting your garden are small and brightly coloured. Feeding will also attract the likes of larger birds. Cats and predatory birds might see an opportunity for easy prey, so it's important to protect your birds where possible. However, there are some birds many feeders dread the sight of. Starlings, These birds often travel in large numbers, overwhelming feeders and leaving no or little food for others. This is why many opt for a cage around their seed, so only the smaller birds can access it, while the larger birds can be fed on the ground. Starlings almost glow with colour when caught in the right light. Sadly, in Britain, sunny days are all too far and few between. Some reaching up to 5 times the weight of a typical blue tip. Starlings use their numbers and size to muscle smaller birds away from feeding dishes. However, they're much more insectivorous, meaning they favour invertebrates largely over seed. All the recent rain has left more than enough worms and grubs to go around. Starlings also make for a difficult catch for birds of prey. Their often large numbers leave every corner watched. Alarm calls to flee at the sight of danger. But not only this, their agility and speed in the sky is not easily matched. The mass of birds flying within close proximity also makes for a dangerous collision to any predator willing to dive into the thick of it. Wood and feral pigeons often receive the other end of the dread. Their large size can intimidate other birds. Their typical negative reputation amongst the general public also doesn't help. Known to be carrier of diseases and causing a mess wherever they go. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. They're often attracted en masse to human locations, purely due to the amount of waste and food we leave behind. These adaptable birds have made the most of the situation. If you've seen my older videos, although the audio isn't great, you may have noticed I've raised a couple of feral pigeons before. Adapted to life in the wild without hesitation, and returned every couple of days for a top up of food. Colin hasn't returned since winter. He left with some other pigeons. His fate is sadly unknown. But I'm sure he's out there somewhere. And I'm sure he won't be the last raise and release I do. For some reason, blackbirds seem to have skipped this negative association. A common bird seen in most UK gardens, often quite timid. Another timid bird, a lone dunnock, not so easily spotted, often hiding on the outskirts of hedges and avoiding open spaces. This is just a few of the birds that have visited my garden this week. There's many more species frequenting UK gardens, many relying on being fed by us to help feed their young and raise the next generation. Which brings about the importance of slowly reducing feeds when moving house. Feeding wild birds isn't overly costly, and brings about constant entertainment, watching the different species and how they interact. In return, more birds in your garden will help keep insect populations down, protecting plants, and avoiding insects entering the home, spurring irrational fears. The feeding has also helped some species' number to recover and grow. So long as we keep feeding, many more birds will have a much brighter future.